Hey, welcome back to Spooky Bricks. So this time we're talking about my build of the Sleepy Hollow Schoolhouse, where of course Ichabod Crane was the schoolmaster. Now, unlike my previous Sleepy Hollow builds, this one wasn't based off of any real historical building. I just designed it after that classic white colonial schoolhouse look, and I used a few different real buildings as inspiration. The terrain outside is built up on some olive green and dark tan plates with some angled and rounded pieces along the edge to give it some interesting shaping. To give it more of a grassy texture, I added a bunch of olive green plant pieces along with some rounded 1x1 plates and tiles. And we have just a little hint of an old rustic road. Like most of my tree builds, the tree trunks are made out of Technic connectors with some smaller bar pieces on the ends. I added a black whip piece at the bottom depicting some exposed roots. I really like how this tree turned out, and although it's fairly small and simple when compared to some of my other tree builds, but I think it has a really nice natural organic kind of look to it. When I originally made this MOC, I had all the leaves in the coral color, which is an interesting color, but to me it just looks a little too pink, and I thought maybe that it read too much like spring leaves rather than fall leaves. So I recently updated it and added in a whole bunch of orange leaves. Coral and orange are two pretty similar colors, so they blend together very nicely. And I think that the addition of the orange really helps push the leaves into that classic autumn look. The sign out front is a custom sticker that I designed in Adobe Illustrator and printed out on some sticker paper. Underneath the school, I put some 2x2 textured round bricks to act as a foundation made of logs. In the story The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, the school is described as looking a little run down, so I made some of the siding broken off and hanging at uneven angles. And to add to that weathered look, I used some older, yellowed, beat up white tiles, along with a few tan tiles. I attached the tiles to the walls using snot bricks along with some Technic bricks and pins. So normally if I wanted to make a building with white siding, I would use only white snot bricks to attach the tiles, but because I was going for more of a run-down, weathered look, I used some tans and grays as well. In the story, the windows of the schoolhouse are described to have a few broken panes that were just sort of haphazardly sealed up with some old book pages. So the printed 2x2 window panes with the newspaper pages work perfectly for that. I used a few of these arched window pieces to portray some wood structural support details. On the roof I added some 1x2 tiles as shingles, but I only partially attached them, and that gives them more of a staggered look that works well for shingle texturing. And of course you can't have the schoolhouse without the school bell. So for the figures out front, we have Ichabod taking off his hat and greeting Katrina Van Tassel with a big smile on his face. And then behind Katrina there is Brom Bones looking not too happy about it. Then by Brom's side we have the dog that Brom trained to howl and disrupt Ichabod's singing lessons. Over to the side we have some school children playing in the leaves. Now, for my Sleepy Hollow bridge MOC, I gave Ichabod a hat with a medium nougat ponytail attached, but since I wanted to have him taking off his hat here, I needed to use a different hairpiece. I originally wanted to use this ponytail piece here, but unfortunately it's just not available in medium nougat. So instead I use this hairpiece here, and although it is shorter and lacks that ponytail, I still prefer to stay consistent with the colors. And of course, here is the schoolhouse all lit up. So that is it for my Sleepy Hollow Schoolhouse MOC, but my next build will be a Christmas holiday themed MOC, with of course a spooky twist, because that's what I do here. Now up until this point, all the builds I've discussed were already made before this channel existed, but this upcoming one will be the first time that I'll be building something and then making a video about it right afterwards. So hopefully between building and video editing, it'll be up in time for Christmas, and then maybe in the meantime I'll have some smaller video up, but we'll see. I'm not sure how much time I'll have with the holidays, but anyway, until then, stay tuned for more spooky builds.
His schoolhouse was a low building of one large room, the windows partly glazed and partly patched with leaves of old copybooks. The schoolhouse stood in a rather lonely but pleasant situation, just at the foot of a woody hill with a brook running close by and a formidable birch tree growing at one end of it. From hence the low murmur of his pupils' voices, conning over their lessons, might be heard on a drowsy summer's day, like the hum of a beehive, interrupted now and then by the authoritative voice of the master, in the tone of menace or command, or peradventure by the appalling sound of the birch, as he urged some tardy loiterer along the flowery path of knowledge. Katrina Van Tassel. She was a blooming lass, plump as a partridge, ripe and melting, and rosy-cheeked as one of her father's peaches. His only study was how to gain the affections of the peerless daughter of Van Tassel. And he had to encounter a host of fearful adversaries. Among these, the most formidable was a roistering blade of the name of Brom Bones.